So, my sister-in-law and brother will be staying at me and my wife's house for a few months as they are both out of jobs and sister-in-law is 7 months pregnant. They also have a 6-year-old child and our house was enough to accommodate all of us. The problem is that my sister-in-law is a not so nice person and is the type who says she unforgivingly true and that if she sees something that doesn't please her, she will make sure it knows. I didn't know the extent of it until now, when she had started to torment my wife. My wife is a very sensitive person and is also unable to have kids, not because she is infertile, but as birthing process can prove to be extremely dangerous for her. My sister-in-law found out about it and has made it her life mission to remind my wife how joyful motherhood is and that giving birth is something that completes everyone and that every pregnancy is a danger, but a risk worth taking. Let me remind you, my wife's mother has died at childbirth and her aunt has had multiple miscarriages. My wife has asked her to stop, but she says that she is also a resident at our home and while she is here she can do what she wants. I have also asked her to not to my wife about it, but she won't listen to reason. But she toned it down after my brother asked her. A few days ago, I had come home early for work only to find out that my sister-in-law had held an intervention for my wife with all her mother friends to encourage her to get pregnant. My wife had locked herself in our room and had been crying. I saw red and immediately called my brother and told him I wanted his family out of my house by 10 tonight and went ahead and packed their stuff around the house myself. I didn't talk to my sister-in-law while she screamed at me and I just have her son noise-cancelling headphones and left him in the corner room. Brother begged me to let them stay as his part-time job was not profitable enough to support all 3 of them plus the new baby. I told him that I had given sister-in-law many chances and that my wife will not be disrespected at her own home. They left and I have found out that they are currently homeless and can barely afford to get a motel for a night. My mother is on my side but has told me to think about my nephew who is also suffering a lot as he can't even attend online school. After knowing all this, both me and my wife feel a little guilty as the child was blameless and the soon-to-be-born one will also have to suffer. So, am I the idiot for making my nephew suffer and problem cause him trauma? I am not at all regretful for kicking my sister-in-law, but I am worried about nephew as he has anxiety as well. Not the idiot. Take in the kid if you want, or mom can take him in, but your sister-in-law was way out of line here. Kudos on not strangling her, honestly. Bluntly, your sister-in-law was encouraging your wife to do something she knew would be dangerous to her. Your sister-in-law is fine leaving you a widower so long as your wife is part of her fruity little club. Your wife's mental health must be prioritized, especially after this incident, and unfortunately, your nephew got caught in the crossfire. But remember, all your sister-in-law had to do to not have this happen was knock off her bullcrap. Your sister-in-law can work. She might be pregnant, but that's a temporary situation. I'm sure she can ask a relative to look after the baby. You were incredibly generous and it's very clear that your sister-in-law is not a nice person. Nor did she appreciate the magnitude of the gift that you were giving to her family. Any sane person would be bending over backwards to make this arrangement work. You need to come to terms with the fact that you are not the cause of your nephew's suffering. Nor are you the cause of your brother's suffering. He unfortunately chose to marry a person who loves creating drama and conflict. You do not have to put up with it. Good on you for standing up for your wife. Their situation hasn't changed, they are still homeless, but sister-in-law destroyed a solution to their problem. Not the idiot, it's rough but your sister-in-law dug her own grave here. She knew how perilous her situation was, but yet she didn't want to be kind and respectful to those keeping her off the street. I know it is hard, but please don't give in. What she did to your wife was unforgivable, and she will probably do it again if she was willing to go that far when she had been told to back off. What she did would be like me going up to your wife and expounding on the joys of not having kids when I know she wants kids but can't have them. It would be cruel, just like how cruel what your sister-in-law did was. My half-brother is 19. I'm 26. We share a dad but not a mom. Right after my mom died, Dad had a one-night stand with a woman who is now his wife. My half-brother was the result of that one-night stand. And 2 years later they were not only together but happily married. They now have 5 kids together, including my half-brother. One thing she and I have in common is the loss of our moms at a very young age. Stepmom was 9, and I had just turned 7 when our respective moms died. So, she knew what it was like and she never tried to be my mom. She didn't even try to fill that role for me. She resented her own stepmother for doing it, so we had a very casual relationship. I appreciate her so much for that. She also was quick to remind my dad she wasn't my mom when he would call her that to me. I think she knew the best way for me to accept the change, and especially half-siblings, would be to never make me feel like she was replacing or taking over where my mom once was. Here's the thing. I had my daughter 16 weeks ago. I named her after my mom and my husband's mom. Cool. Dad started to say something, but his wife cut him off. But my half-brother, the oldest of their kids, has been on me about it. He told me I was rude. He told me I should have used his mom's name, that she's been my mom longer than my birth mom was, and all this other crap. I told him to knock it off. His mom told him to knock it off. Then he came for me even harder and told me to change her name and show respect and love to his mom or else. I told him he's not my daughter's father or mine, so he has no business telling me what to do or deciding what my daughter's name should be. He's idiot. I'm ignoring him. Am I the idiot? I suspect he's getting the attitude from your father, even if your father has a little more wits about him and is keeping his mouth shut for now. But I wouldn't be surprised if your brother, and maybe your father, started using your stepmom's name instead of your mother's name. So just be prepared for that and have a plan for dealing with it. For example, if they are at your place, you ask them once and then if they persist, tell them to leave. If you are at their place or in public, you ask them once, and if they persist, you leave, since you can't make them leave their own place or a public place. Do this the first few times it happens, consistently, it will be easier than trying to break them of the habit later on. It is your child, you get to name her whatever you want. Your half-brother has no idea what it is like to lose a mom and gain a stepmom. He has no grounds to speak here because not only is he not the parent of this child, but he's talking out of himself. I just want to also acknowledge the awesomeness of your stepmother. Too many times we read on here about the step-parent stomping boundaries and being horrible that you didn't blend the way they always dreamed of. Not only did your stepmother not do that, but she stood up to her own son when he did. Not the idiot. He's a 19-year-old idiot. You've told him what's up. Let his mother deal with him now, she'll set him straight, and your dad. She sounds like a very understanding woman, and she also knows that she's here and gets to be in your daughter's life as a grandmother figure when your mother doesn't. It makes every sense to honor the grandmother who isn't here by using her name, and the grandmother who is here gets the privilege of watching your daughter grow up. Even if your dad and brother stay stupid, your stepmom is worth hanging on to. I have 2 sons ages 15 and 13. Ex and I were young when we had them. We broke up when I was still pregnant with our youngest son. He was absent for the best part of 3 years and then reappeared when he had found Jesus and met the woman he is now married to. I'm an atheist and he had no belief when we met and were together, but was raised Catholic. So neither of our boys are baptized and I was never okay with that happening. Ex and his wife are practicing Catholics now though. They have tried to influence the boys to follow their religion. He petitioned the court 3 separate times for the right to raise them Catholic and was denied because I didn't consent. The boys have been exposed to other religions in a more educational way through their friends, my friends, some of my extended family. It's the way I prefer to raise them. Ex hates it. But I don't want the Catholic morals instilled in my boys. It's especially important since my younger son is gay and my ex's church has a crazily anti-movement priest. Ex's wife has been more and more upset about their lack of faith and belief. She actually called me up a couple of times in the last month to try and broach the subject. The second time she tried using a friend's phone to have this long discussion about it. She brought up multiple concerns of hers and how she feels like their role as parents has not been respected in the decision of what the boys believe. I shut her down and told her I would not discuss this with her. And that she was not to call me again about the issue. She is furious. She accused me of dismissing her role as their mom, which she's not, and I will happily say that I am dismissing the health of their souls and am teaching my kids bad stuff. Most of that I roll my eyes at. But my sister, who is a stepmom, said shutting her down in the way I did was unfair, given she has been in their lives for so many years now. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, you and your ex have different beliefs. The best solution is the one that you have decided. They will be exposed to the Catholic faith through him and other beliefs through you. Once your children are old enough to decide what they believe, they can make that decision for themselves. His stepmother absolutely crossed the line with you. She is not their mother, you are. And in this case you have made your decision very clear. She needs to learn how to respect that. The fact that she shows no respect for your beliefs or anyone else's really says who the bigoted one is. My dad is pretty heavily Catholic, and while he's not one of those uber conservative you're damned to hell if you're not religious, he definitely thinks that Catholicism is the only true religion. Thankfully, my mom is agnostic, so while I had to go to church growing up and was raised Catholic, I wasn't indoctrinated or made to feel like I was sinning for being a lesbian. I'm now agnostic, but I still definitely have some religious trauma due to being confirmed without really knowing if I wanted to be, attending catechism with some bigoted teachers, etc. You are right to protect your boys. Obviously not all intense Catholics are bad, but it's not a very healthy environment to grow up in, especially if you don't fit their Christian standard. You have every right to shut her down. He left for years. She isn't their mom and hasn't played a role in their lives until recently. She doesn't get to make decisions. Dad barely gets to make decisions. On top of that, your kids are old enough to have a say in what they do religiously and spiritually. I wish stepmom good luck in trying to convince kids into going Catholic. There's a reason kids are turning away from religion. What do the kids say about any of this? Do they want move involvement with dad and stepmom? Do they want to get baptized? Do they want any part in this? We, 48 and 45, have been married 25 years. 3 kids all educated at private schools and now adults, nice house in a good area, nice cars, and have enjoyed overseas and local holidays, etc. My wife likes high-end bags like LV and Hermes. She has a few LV bags. I am genuinely okay with her hobby, as it makes her happy. Wife stopped working at 25 to be a stay-at-home mom, but went back to work for 6 years, but gave it up to return to the stay-at-home mom role. I have run my own business for 20 years, and because of a slowdown in my sector because of COVID, I have taken a job as a bus driver to make ends meet. I have sold $18,000 worth of guitars to survive the previous 3 months. I called the bank to get mortgage relief for next 3 months, and the same for the credit cards, so we can exist until a new project starts for my business in December. Then we are back to a good situation again. My wife manages the home finances. Here's the thing. We have always had joint accounts for mortgage, credit and savings. That's how we do it, well at least I thought so. You see, my wife is a great eBay seller and makes excellent margins on what she sells. This morning we discussed the savings account. It's dropped from $27,000 to $5,000 due to the tougher times resulting from COVID. I wasn't aware of the drop from about the $10,000 mark because I put together a tough budget that's achievable and thought we were good. I got the surprise of my life this morning when my wife said that the savings account was low, but her eBay sales were good and she had $3,000 that was going towards her planned Hermes Birkin, around $12,000. My wife then suggested we go for a walk and grab a coffee. Well, during the walk I just lost it after thinking for a few minutes about her lack of communication and common sense. I did blow up and we cut the walk short. Apparently I am the asshole for losing it. Now I figure I should set up my own account, have my pay sent to this, and ask her to pay half of all expenses. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You should be able to trust your wife to do the task if you both agreed on her doing it. That trust extended to her keeping you informed and up to date. So reasonable you'd have a cow moment. However, you shouldn't have been surprised because regardless of whose responsibility it is to manage funds, you both are married and should be looking at things together on a regular basis. Financial diligence. Checks and balances. Call it what you will. You are right in realizing you need to do something different. You're selling your guitars and getting another job to try to help your family's financial situation because of COVID, and she's taking money out for a luxury bag without you two coming to agreement first. That's crazy. Unfortunately, we're not over this, so who knows when or even if finances will return to somewhat normal. Because of that, I'm a bit shocked she's okay with spending money on a luxury item when you're having to rearrange finances so much. It's a bag. It's nowhere near a necessity. You need to have a come to Jesus talk with her about her priorities. Not the idiot at all. You are trying to keep your home and not go bankrupt. You appear to have sacrificed quite a bit and your wife has not. If you are financially struggling, a $12,000 handbag is not the right purchase at this time, and it astounds me that she doesn't realize this. She kind of reminds me of this guy I used to know. It was always about the next party with him. Second he got paid, he was off to the bar, and the paycheck was gone. He would even go to furniture stores, sign up for their credit plan and buy an expensive couch. He then would sell that couch in the parking lot for cash for half of what it cost. Then, back to the bar. Needless to say, it all eventually caught up with him and he owed over $100K from doing this. I, 29, have lived with my girlfriend, 32, for just under a year. We've been seeing each other for 3 years and change. Recently I earned a promotion at my work. I've worked my butt off for this promotion for several years and have barely taken any time off during that duration. When I found out about my promotion and that they wouldn't actually need me for my new role for about a month, I decided to finally cash in on some of my paid time off and to take off 10 days, 14 total, from work in between my old role and my new role. When my girlfriend found out about this, she decided to go ahead and put in for the first week of my time off from her job as well, which she was granted. When I found out about this, I told her, I'm glad to be able to spend some time with you, but I just want to hang out and do nothing with my 2 weeks off, just watch some Netflix, or whatever. However, she bought paint and painting supplies for us to work on the guest room together. She also planned for us to go to her parents' cabin up north on a lake for a few days before she had to go back to work. The first week off of our vacation is coming up this week. When I found out about her plans I told her no. I told you that I didn't want to do anything with my 2 weeks off. Stop trying to hijack my time off. She got very upset and said that time off together will be hard to come by for several years and that I was being selfish, especially since she was only asking me to spend one of my weeks off with her and leaving me completely free for my second. I think that she was wrong to try to take over my days off like this, especially after I told her that I just wanted to use them to relax and do what I wanted. She thinks that I have 2 whole weeks off and that I should give her one of them since we are a couple. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You're in a relationship living together, that's not going to last long doing things the way you're doing them. First, your communication is horrible. No, you don't get to do anything when you take time off. Unless you're single. Or are actively trying to become single. Because that sounds like what you're trying to do. 2 weeks watching Netflix. You might as well be living in your mother's basement. I can hear you yelling for her, hey, get me a beer. Like your girlfriend is your waitress, maid, cook, and handyman all rolled into one. Owning a house means you don't get to sit around and just drink a beer when you're not at work. You have to maintain the house just like you have to maintain the relationship. You don't have any time off in the entire time you're with your girlfriend, then you get 2 full weeks and only want to make them about yourself. The poor girlfriend only took one of those 2 weeks off, so she wasn't asking for 14 whole days. Why are you in a relationship if you don't want to spend at least half your free time with a significant other? You offered nothing but sitting around your house watching Netflix, not a single thing that's special or involves both of you during this obviously precious free time. I get why she took advantage of the 2 weeks. She just wants to spend time with you. Waiting years to be able to take time off together is a long time for a relationship, and you said it'll be difficult to do that going forward. You also barely took time off for the past couple years. Neither one of you communicated anything to the other successfully. You're not single. Just taking time off for weeks and not saying anything, knowing your partner wants time with you, is not good. Her making plans without telling you, knowing you don't want to, isn't good.